Synni03, formerly known as Scootaloo Loves Sans, has recently made a video acknowledging the drama she's been in for the past, 9 months. I've been wanting to make this video since around July, but I haven't been able to, so I might as well make it now that Synni is looking for people to share their issues with her. I happen to have several issues with her, so I might as well share them since, she's literally asking for it. This issue isn't new. She has a terrible habit of simply refusing to put warnings on her videos and art. This is shown especially on her DeviantArt. She's been doing this since 2017. Hell, at one point she was even reported on DA, and she still didn't spoiler the reported image. However, the post where she complained about the image in question being reported was deleted as of late for some reason. This isn't an issue of the past, however. As recently as 6 months ago, she uploaded a video of her Sona hung, and even with the mass reporting, she didn't add an actual trigger warning. Vent/trigger warning. Wow, Synni, that totally explains that in the video you drew yourself hung. She should have put suicide warning or something similar to that, but of course she didn't. She didn't even apologize to exposing over 500,000 people to that. It's very well known that Synni has a disgusting issue with her romanticization of abuse, kidnapping, and literal rape. She's literally seeing a therapist about her rape obsession. Now, this would be okay if she kept it private. She, of course, doesn't. She has an AU she posts about quite often describing her kidnapping and abuse by Nightmare Sans. And she hasn't publicly said it, but it's very clear that there's also rape in the story. She also has a pair of OCs that are almost entirely about domestic abuse. Now, once again, this would be okay if she did it respectfully in a way to not make fun of victims, and if she put a trigger warning on it. However, of course she doesn't. Once again, after mass reporting, she finally put a trigger warning on an animation she did depicting abuse. However, she actually put a proper trigger warning, so I will give her a pat on the back for doing the bare minimum. Now, before I even talk about Synni's treatment of Charlie, I just want to say I am well aware of the recent information about Charlie coming out, and I absolutely will not be defending Charlie for that. However, Charlie's actions didn't happen for another month, so Synni's treatment of them is still going to be covered here. Quick background. Synni, 16 at the time, was friends with Charlie, 14 at the time. They naturally started to drift away, as they didn't talk very much, likely having to do with Synni's constant grounding and her posting about Birdie, which will be talked about later. Charlie, having been abused, stalked, obsessed over, and doxxed by Birdie, clearly doesn't like him very much, so Charlie asked Synni to stop posting about him, as he is truly a terrible person. Synni began to guilt-trip Charlie, saying how she missed them all being friends. This spiraled further until Charlie had to ask for their OC, Ember, back, and then the two of them cut ties. Synni, a sophomore, took to DA, vaguing about Charlie, a 7th grader. I should not have to explain why that is bad. It, of course, didn't end here. Synni began talking about Charlie, who she referred to as Haim. Synni has drawn 2 known images of Charlie dead, one of Birdie killing Charlie and several of Birdie's ex-lovers, ex-friends, and users known as Evidence Found. Another of Synni herself ripping Charlie's head off. Now, some of you may know, but most likely don't. Synni, despite claiming the past that she is bi, is 100% heterosexual. This may confuse you as she has publicly dated a girl known as Kayla for nearly 3 years. However, less known, as this happened in 2016, she dated a girl named Amanda. I am unsure for how long, though. It shows there's a pattern of Synni, a straight woman, dating LGBT women. She also has several slurs that only LGBT people can reclaim. Hell, she even has an affinity for the F slur, which even if she was 100% a lesbian, she can't say, as it's a slur for gay men to reclaim. Her reason for masquerading and doing all of this? She didn't want to be lonely. In her relationship with Kayla exposes the fact that Synni was actually quite abusive to her. Synni would blame Kayla for things like how Cynthia, all on her own, posted that old same face syndrome video that caused a stir in the community. Even though Kayla straight up told Synni it was a bad idea, she still blamed her. Synni would also post about how she was sexually attracted to Birdie, and even tell Kayla how she likes Jack and not her. For the last few months of their relationship, Kayla was told Synni was straight, but Synni still had her stay in the relationship. Now, I will momentarily touch upon Synni's past transphobia. It will be important to have a clear picture, though. Synni used to have a series known as Fangirl Mania, where she would find Sans fangirls and put them on blast. In one episode of this series, she found a user known as Snow Pearl. In Snow's intro video, they stated that they're non-binary and use they/them pronouns. Synni made a comment about Snow being a snowflake due to their identity, and Synni's friends saying how it's cringy. Now, this could be brushed off by Synni stans as, "Oh, she was just joking," and, "Well, Synni's friend has a mind of her own." However, for the rest of the video, Synni and her friend chose to insult and sexualize Snow Pearl's OC, commenting on their chest and their crotch. They keep referring to them with she/her pronouns just to upset them. This could be brushed off as a thing of the past, except for two things. One, Synni never issued any sort of apology, and two, Synni still does shit like this. Recently, her NB phobia has been directed towards Charlie, not even putting in the bare minimum to use their correct pronouns at the time. Charlie now goes by he/they, but I wouldn't be surprised if Synni couldn't even manage to do that. Her reason for this? Because she's not friends with Charlie anymore. So she just somehow isn't able to use their pronouns when people correct her. Also, oddly enough, she's somewhat transphobic to her idol, Birdie, making remarks about how he's not a real boy yet. She made these remarks in her weird sex daydream scenario she has, by the way. Okay, I know I just dropped the fact she has a sex daydream about Birdie on you, so sorry for that. Let me explain it in this next section. It's well known Synni has a vent world, aka a form of intense maladaptive daydreaming. She not only lets this consume her thoughts, but also ruins how she views people. Now, she's posted about these thoughts, so let's go over some of them. In one, she details how Birdie gets weird magic bottom surgery to become, quote, a real boy, because trans men aren't real men according to her, I guess. I know she meant that he now has the body of a cis male, but god, she needs to be fucking aware of what she says. Anyways, she then explains how Birdie, who during the time of her writing that, already was in a relationship with two people, Jay and Julian, had sex with her and got her pregnant. Synni has even drawn comics about this and even designed and given a personality to her and Jack's creepy-ass child. This combined with the loads and loads of Synni x Birdie ship art she's drawn, the screenshots of Synni saying she hates Birdie's partner at the time, Julian, and the fact she made a literal plush doll of Jack shows she's obsessed. Now, as many of you may know, Synni is heavily copying Birdie, not just in art, but in personality too. As just mentioned, Synni has made a plush doll of Jack. Not his OCs, literally him. Some of you may know, Birdie is an avid plush maker. He's made 2 plushies of his ex, Charlie, and one of his current boyfriend, Jay. She has also, as previously stated, began to romanticize abuse, kidnap, and rape, something Jack knowingly does. Synni has also begun shit-talking her ex and Charlie, once again, just like Birdie. Her and Birdie also have a terrible issue with just not ever using trigger warnings. Another thing, art. She's begun to simplify her art style and use very strong shape language. She's also made an OC with a colorful unicorn horn who bears a resemblance to one of Jack's OCs. Finally, Jack made and posted a Utahu Sona, and exactly 2 months later, Synni made one and began to hyperfixate on it, making a voice bank for it and everything. This amount of time in between is enough for her to research it and make one herself, just to be more like Jack. The issue with taking such a disgusting liking to Birdie is that he's truly a vile person. He's made an entire comic called I Dropped My Tortilla, detailing how he would kidnap, rape, and torture his ex. Jack is also a zoophile, as he tried to force his ferret to do unspeakable shit to him. He's even doxed his ex several times, having his entire Discord server spam their full name on their channel. In recent times, he's forced his ex-boyfriend Julian into a poly relationship that he didn't consent to, and then he began to neglect him for the other person in the poly, Jay, and only sexualized Julian. Birdie is a disgusting human being and Synni knows that, but instead decides to obsess over him and try to date him. She wants to try and fix him, but she needs to get it through her head that she's not special. His past friends and exes have tried, and they couldn't. She isn't able to fix him. Her and all of his other fans need to realize that. He's a terrible human being, and no one will ever save him, as only he can fix himself. Cynthia has over 500,000 subscribers, and she very publicly supports Birdie. Her fanbase has many impressionable children, and her straight up lying and saying he's a good person will have nothing good come from it. I doubt she will stop supporting him despite being such a terrible human, but at the bare minimum she needs to stop posting about him publicly. I sadly have a feeling that won't be happening though. In short, there's not a lot about Synni that isn't bad. She really needs to take a good look at herself. But I doubt that will happen. Even with her finally talking about this, she says she wants to, quote, defend herself. And it seems like she doesn't actually want to take responsibility for her actions. She may genuinely apologize and improve herself, though, as me and many, many others hope she does. Cynthia, if you're watching this, please take this video to heart. Thank you for watching this video to the end. It really means a lot to me. I'll see you in the next video. Bye.